What is up, everybody? This is Steve with Sentinel17 Gaming. Thanks for joining me for this video. I greatly appreciate it, and I hope everyone is having a fantastic Wednesday today. Now, this video, if you do enjoy it, please hit that like button. It'll let me know that I'm doing something right, at least. And if you have something to say, leave it in the comments section below. And as always, if you have not subscribed to my channel, Sentinel17 Gaming, please do so right now. Obviously, this video is about Perfect Dark. Now, the initiative is building the Reboot, and while they were a brand new studio, they've run into a lot of issues, and the first game that comes to mind when I think about Xbox and a game that's overhyped, that is now having tons of issues, of course, is Crackdown 3. Now, for those of you that were Xbox One gamers, especially if you remember when it was first announced, they had such lofty goals for this game. It was supposed to have destructible environments, and that was even in single player. Now, of course, the final product that we got was nothing like that, and I think how poorly Crackdown was received by a lot of people wasn't necessarily that the game was all that bad. It's just that people had unrealistic expectations going in, and of course, when we got the final product, that hype just absolutely destroyed Crackdown 3, obliterated it. Now, hopefully Microsoft learned their lesson with Crackdown 3, with the developmental hell that it was going through, and with essentially promising things that they could not deliver on in the end. Now, they haven't really said too much with Perfect Dark, and I think that's a good thing, that they haven't promised anything yet. But what is kind of troubling is the fact that, well, it's two things, essentially. The first one, of course, is the personnel problem, and that's the main reason for making this video, is I've been doing a lot of thinking about this. But, of course, the second one is that they took an IP that's been resting for a while, since the Xbox 360 days, and of course most gamers nowadays, when they think about Perfect Dark, they think about the lackluster Perfect Dark Zero, which was an Xbox 360 exclusive. Now, my first game, obviously, was Perfect Dark on the Nintendo 64, and the way everything was set up, you see some of that, like how you can determine the different difficulty levels with each different mission that you're going to want to tackle rather than setting it as one difficulty level from the start. You see some of that in Perfect Dark Zero, but unfortunately it just is nowhere near as stellar as the Nintendo 64 adventure that Joanna Dark went on was, and a lot of reason for that was because Rare had just made GoldenEye, and afterwards they make Perfect Dark, and they took what they established in GoldenEye and they built upon it as far as game mechanics, as far as their ability to craft a memorable and amazing shooter. And that's kind of why I'm optimistic for Crystal Dynamics getting involved with Perfect Dark, trying to help out the initiative. Now, I know Square Enix is disappointed by Tomb Raider, Square Enix is disappointed by Marvel's Avengers, Square Enix is disappointed by Guardians of the Galaxy, and it kind of feels like some people are going to say, oh, Square Enix was disappointed by Crystal Dynamics' work on Tomb Raider. And that has nothing to do with Crystal Dynamics. That has to do with Square Enix being run by a bunch of morons. So as far as Crystal Dynamics goes, I think it's a very talented, very capable studio. And I believe that them getting involved, it may kind of be how Rockstar had to get in more hands-on with L.A. Noire. You remember... Well, I don't know if you remember, but you can look on the internet. There was a lot of problems with Team Bondi. The management just didn't know what the hell they were doing. They were abusive to their employees. It was just a complete mess. And Rockstar Games, of course, had to take a more hands-on approach, and they got the game eventually finished, and the game turned out to be pretty good, but if they wouldn't have gotten involved, it never would have come to fruition. And I kind of feel now, seeing what we're seeing, that if Crystal Dynamics would not have gotten involved with this Perfect Dark reboot, that there just wouldn't have been a chance of really bringing it to the level that everyone might be expecting from Perfect Dark. Now, to Perfect Dark's benefit, it's been dormant for a while, so not a lot of people are really expecting much from it, and I think that may actually work in the initiative's favor because people aren't expecting it to be amazing. They're just kind of curious, kind of like they were with Crackdown, until, of course, they started talking about destructible environments and all this crazy stuff that never happened. So, ironically, them talking less about Perfect Dark is actually going to help it in the long run because people, they don't really know what to expect, and especially with Crystal Dynamics getting involved, that's kind of a shot in the arm, if you want to call it that, saying, hey, you know what? They're helping us make this game. They have a track record of making pretty good action games. So we're going to use them, a collaboration. We're going to have them help us. How about that? And they're going to make this game stellar, and it's not going to end up being a stinker like a lot of people thought Crackdown 3 was. And keep in mind, it's unfortunate what happened to Crackdown 3, how they set unrealistic expectations, and how a lot of gamers just relentlessly attacked it when it came out for not being the next Uncharted, for not being the next Mass Effect. Well, you get the idea. Everyone thought it was going to be like in the 90s. Everyone thought it was going to be, this phenomenal destructive environment type of game, and it just wasn't. And of course, that's all Microsoft's fault for opening their mouth and promising something they could absolutely not deliver on. But hopefully they've learned from that, and hopefully that's why they've been quiet about a lot of. Anyway, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think about this whole situation, about Perfect Dark, and about Crystal Dynamics helping the initiative out. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Do not forget to follow me on Twitter at Sentinel17.